Ready Player One is a movie that takes place in 2045. It tells a story of a world where people are controlled by their VR headsets. But that's not immersive enough. The movie shows the use of full-body haptic suits, multi-directional treadmills, and haptic gloves. And besides, why would you go outside if all of your dreams could come true, all inside of your headset? Now this begs the question, are we close to living in a world like this? But to answer that question, we'll need to rewind 116 years. The year is 1929. Martin Luther King Jr. was just born, the Great Depression had just started, and Edwin Link had created the world's first flight simulator, the Link Trainer, for training pilots in a VR simulation. The pilot experienced what it was like to fly in a military aircraft and helped the user understand the controls. Only 2 years after its debut, the military had bought 6 Link Trainers for roughly $64,000 each in today's money. And during World War II alone, over 10,000 Link Trainers were used to train 500,000 pilots to fly military aircraft. The next breakthrough in VR technology didn't come until 20 years later when Morton Heilig made the Sensorama. Made in the mid-1950s, the machine featured a booth you can sit at and contained 4 main elements designed to mimic 4 of the main human senses, such as a full-color video screen for sight, stereo speakers for hearing, a vibrating chair and wind effects for feeling, and fragrance generators, all to immerse yourself in the virtual environment. Heilig even filmed and edited 6 short films exclusively for the Sensorama. Unfortunately, due to the lack of financial support and struggle to obtain patents, work on the Sensorama was paused indefinitely. In 1968, Ivan Sutherland created the world's first augmented reality display prototype named the Sword of Damocles. The name is derived from a Greek parable about a servant experiencing what it's like to be king. But as he sits on the throne, he finds a sword dangling above him, as an illusion for the pressure and risk of leading a country. The VR system was so heavy all the computer wires had to be bolted to the ceiling, with the wires taking shape of a sword connecting to the components of the user's face. The headset showed the user a 3-dimensional square that the user could look around by moving around the square. The design was so innovative because it took the real world and overlaid virtual objects on top to create the illusion as if it was in the room with you. Just 20 years later, NASA developed their first VR headset, Project View, designed to familiarize astronauts with the layout of a space shuttle. This headset offered the same motion tracking technology as the Sword of Damocles, but in a fully immersive virtual environment. This was also the first virtual reality system to be paired with gloves that would track the position of your fingers to interact with objects inside the virtual world. After NASA's headset, Nintendo's Virtual Boy made its debut in August of 1995 as the first consumer-oriented VR device priced at $340 in today's money. The Virtual Boy was comprised of 2 LED displays with only red pixels, a stand to hold the headset, and a controller. The product was shamed for its poor ergonomics and health concerns. After failing to meet sales goals over and over again, the Virtual Boy was discontinued only 4 months after its release, earning its title as the worst performing console in Nintendo's history. It's safe to say that after the Virtual Boy, optimism for VR was at an all-time low, until The Matrix released in 1999. The Matrix is a film telling the story of characters living in a fully simulated environment. Although this is not any kind of breakthrough in technology, it brought the idea of virtual reality mainstream and got the average consumer excited about the concept. 15 years later, things are getting crazy. 2014 through 2016 were some of the biggest years for VR technology. With the debut of the Google Cardboard, PSVR, and the Samsung Gear VR, the technology was becoming more accessible than ever. And if that's not enough, Oculus, the largest VR company, was bought by Facebook, the largest social media company. And just when you thought we were done, a couple years later, the Oculus Rift and HTC Vive broke into the mainstream market. These headsets paved the way for the biggest product virtual reality had ever seen. In October of 2020, Facebook shocked the world with the release of the most mainstream VR headset today, The Oculus Quest 2 was by far the most accessible VR headset on the market. For only $300, users got access to everything the Quest had to offer. Some of these features include the largest VR app store in the world, being able to track hand movement using only cameras inside the headset, and its cheap price made it easier to play with your friends. And with the Oculus being released at the height of the pandemic, and the price being absurdly low for a VR headset at the time, insiders report Facebook had sold 20 million Quest 2s by March of 2023, rivaling Xbox's consoles released around the same time. Although the Quest 2 shattered records across the board, VR isn't at an amazing spot as of now. The Quest successor, the Quest 3, has not been performing very well. And while Apple's ultra-premium VR headset offers the most immersive experience money can buy, the $3,500 price tag puts it outside of most people's budgets. But strides are still being made to create the most immersive experience possible. Tech startups are experimenting with full-body haptic suits, multi-directional treadmills, and haptic gloves. But if you ask me, we are far from a future where our lives are controlled by bricks that sit on our faces. Now, will we make it there in 20 years? I guess we'll have to wait and see. But while we wait for that to happen, go check out some of my other gaming videos. Make sure you let me know if you enjoy this type of content.